So we're talking about healthy leadership, and one of the things that can happen, there can be this thought, like, of people, like we mentioned earlier, like, not putting their family in their first calling first, and pursuing ministry, and especially on these. I like to think that it's different at a big church versus a little church, but honestly, I think it's every church, almost every church, like, everybody's doing more than they probably should. Mm-hmm. Like, we're all pulling a lot of weight in any ministry. And so what that's full of then is a bunch of people who are on, like, the verge of burnout. Yeah. So it's not just, okay, it's like, I've been in the wrong, I've had this disordered for so long, and now I've taken on so much because it's my identity that now everything depends on me. How do I get myself out of this situation? I think the question here is, like, what is the cure for burnout? Mm-hmm. Like, if I've taken on so much that literally, like let's say I'm the senior pastor of a church of 50 to 100 people, and I've completely inverted my life. I've put ministry over my family. It is my everything, and the entire ministry. Let's say 20 or 30 families, they just depend on me because I preach every Sunday and I lead some music, I'm thinking old church, and I'm there standing at the door greeting people, and I realize, oh no, I've put myself in this place where I'm the everything, and I've inverted my life. What's the cure for that?
It's a great question. I'm scared of people who, like, ministry is everything for them, I once heard someone say, I don't trust a pastor who didn't spend a season as an atheist.
Wow.
Or, like, right now, Ashley and I, to be very vulnerable and blunt, like every month we daydream about doing something else other mm-hmm. than ministry, because ministry isn't the Sunday expression of modern Christianity is definitely not everything to us. Mm-hmm. We really love to connect deeply with one another, with our family. We love to go on adventures. We have dreams and hobbies and plans. And I think of, like, the maybe an antidote to this is having a cyclical expression of life, like Jesus demonstrated. Like, it says that, on the Sabbath, he went to the temple as was his custom. Mm-hmm. This is Luke 4, and he asked for the scroll of Isaiah, and he read from it, and he said, today this verse is fulfilled in your hearing, and then he closed it, and in this instance, they wanted to kill him, but after that, he would have just gone fishing. He would have hung out with the apostles. He would have, walked to another town. It's like, everything is not Sunday. Sunday is not everything. Like, mm-hmm. we need to have things that we love to do outside church, and I think that's one thing that could help.
Yeah, I would second what Jeremy said. I think, and I've talked about this with our staff before, because there's a difference between exhaustion and burnout. And because exhaustion, you're up at night with one of your kids and you just didn't sleep super well. You wake up in the morning and there's a physical exhaustion. Burnout at its core is not just a physical thing. It's actually largely even a mental thing. There's mm-hmm. mental burnout. Like, I think about, like, you don't want to step foot there anymore. Like, you leave, and it's not just that you're tired, you're all the way drained, everything. Like, there's no life in mm-hmm. what you're doing anymore. Mm-hmm. That's not something that just getting more sleep cures.
Yeah.
And so I think what you brought up is really important. I think for me, something that I've wanted to even do better at pursuing, and I'm definitely not the best at this still, I need to get better at it, but pursuing things outside of that bring me delight.
Yeah.
Like, places where I can just spend time doing things and things that are not ministry related, or prepping for a message on a Sunday, or, doing all the stuff, but really leaning into delight. So one thing I would say would just be finding what is something that gives you delight.
Yeah.
Like, what is something that does that? I think that would be a huge key to starting to get down to the root of what's going on with that burnout, and kind of why you're starting to feel that way. And then, of course, the other one, which is just a very simple, little bit more like answer that we'd all say, is, of course, intimacy with the Lord. Like, I think of the statement. There's a great quote that's from a book that Pete Scazzaro wrote about the emotionally healthy leader, and he talks about not doing over being, but being over doing. Mm-hmm. And so that core reality of, am I spending all my time doing ministry for the Lord, or am I spending all my time being before the Lord? And ministry flows out of the being, but if ministry flows from the doing, burnout is going to happen so fast. It's going to happen quicker than you think. And that's honestly, if we're being honest, that's when church becomes more about a business. It becomes more about just numbers. It becomes more about just running a show. It becomes more about performance. It becomes more about all these things when we lose that sight, because the joy of pastoring is gone now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's just occupying another position. And we could all talk about this for days, because we all know we're not here just to occupy a positional job, like just to get a paycheck. Yeah. Like, if we're just being flatly honest, we would go do other things. We're here because we love people. Yeah. We love what the Lord is doing in people. We love to see people grow and mature in the Lord, in a greater revelation of who Jesus is. And we love walking with people and equipping the body, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, I love when Dad gets a relationship with one of his kids back. Mm. And when people realize that God is better than they ever thought. It's just the most amazing thing. And I love what you're saying about being over doing. I think that part of being is the ability to be present, being present in this very moment. Because if you're present in this very moment, you know that God is present with you too. And there's such joy accessible in this moment, being present with the Holy Spirit. And that goes everywhere I go. It goes everywhere Justin goes. Like, Justin, what's your favorite cut of steak?
Ribeye.
Me too, man.
Medium rare
ribeye, and then the
compound butter.
Yes, and then the outside edge where it's like so tender, and there's like the perfect amount of like fat and meat combined, and a crispy, crunchy edge, on parts of it, and you cut into that, and you take a bite, and in that moment, like the joy that you share between you and God who created that steak is better than Sunday service. You know what I mean? It's like, God, I'm worshiping you right now over this steak.
I thought this was going to be so deep, like a really deep metaphor of like meat and fat.
No, that's a holy moment, because you are enjoying what God has given you in that moment. It's just...
Amen.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's so good. And then just on a real practical note, within church ministry culture, a huge aspect too of even prioritizing and preserving that being overdoing is also healthy culture, and being able to not, we've talked about this a lot, not being the guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think about our culture, and I'm like, I love the fact that I don't preach every Sunday of every month for 8 weeks in a row, and it's just Andrew that people listen to.
Yes.
I'm so thankful for that, because one, they're not going to get the fullness with just Andrew. They need the fullness of the body. They need the fullness of what our amazing staff team brings, and our pastoral leaders that are incredible.
Yes.
And two, though, it also means I'm not the guy. And I think one thing that's happened is there can be a temptation when when you start to become the guy, everything begins to revolve around you.
Yes.
The services revolve around you. And I love the fact that there have been services that we've done here, and I've been out of town, and I'll get messages, this was one of the best services that we've ever had. And,
thank God you were gone.
that happened to us 2 weeks ago.
And there's this part of you, and it's a beautiful thing, because the Lord gets to crucify it, right? There's that initial part of you that maybe stems up and goes, oh man, that wasn't a message that I preached, or, whatever it is. And man, but how beautiful it is that the church thrives and you're gone.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more, Andrew. And having a plurality of elders, a plurality of voices, Like, it is the safest place for people like us to be, for men like us to be, because
Yes.
we have elders that we're rightly submitted to who can call us out when we get off track. We have elders that we can go to with hard questions, involving church governance, church discipline, church vision, doctrine. There's so much safety in how God wanted the church to be set up, and like I want to be like the have the governance that Jesus dreamed about when he uttered the word bride, when he uttered the word church, when he uttered the word house of prayer. I want to be what he dreamed about, and that to me is what you're saying is so many people shining. Someone else, on any given Sunday service, it's usually a worship leader that wasn't there last week, and I have at the end of worship, I have someone lead us through communion, a trusted voice in the community, and there's a bunch of different people that I pull on, and then it could be me preaching, it could be Ashley, it could be someone from Dallas, it could be someone from our church, and I've gained so much wisdom hanging out with some of my Anglican priest friends. They're the most humble, incredible leaders. And partly because they only have 10 minutes where they have to preach. The little homily, the little homily is just part.
I preach a little longer.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Hey, there's beauty in every tradition.
10 minutes is how much Andrew goes over every Sunday.
Okay, hey. Accountability is good.
But here's something that I learned from being around these Anglican priests is that they don't have much ego tied to their role. They are part of something that existed before them, and it will exist after them. They're like put me in, coach kind of people. They know that people came to worship, to hear the weekly readings, to do the prayers of the people, and to receive the Eucharist, which is the high point of the service. They came for the body and blood. They didn't come for me. They came to worship, to pray, and to receive the body and blood. And then, there's even the way that they do their annual calendar. They're revisiting the same scriptures or the same passages year after year, and sometimes preaching the same homily with new stories. And so these priests just know that they are part of this beautiful tapestry of the gathering of the saints. I've learned so much from being around them. And what's cool about them is that they admire the opposite things about our traditions. They're like, oh man, but we just love how spontaneous you guys can be. We love how you make room for the Holy Spirit to show up and like just change the whole service. And I'm like, I admire the opposite about you. You have so much faith in just God showing up in the gathering of the saints.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It's a humble pie for preachers whose ministries are built on their personality.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and then it's built, and then they're not there, and whatever it is, attendance drops, or all this stuff, and just signs that kind of those warning signs that the culture is built so much around you.
Yeah.
And I just want to say too, just to say like these are not just things that are like, I think we need to all be accountable for areas when we begin to step into this, and we need help, and we need each other. Like, this is the beauty of the body, like, because there's something to be said about, this could be in a whole nother podcast, but there's something to be said about the craving for power. The craving, like, I don't know what it is, like, and this is CEOs. This spans every facet of society when you're talking about business, but the craving to be the one that makes the decisions and that does everything. And you're the one that gets to drive the ship and do everything. And there can be this really unhealthy power that actually is so unhealthy because it begins to get you stuck in that mode where you're like, everything has to come to me. I have to do everything. And if you lead that way, not only is it going to lead to burnout, but it's going to end up, the organization's going to suffer because of it.
Yeah.
And just learning and leaning into counseling and therapy and governance, elders, like, thank God I don't make all the decisions around here. Like, thank God that we have elders that are incredible at helping us make decisions on budget and and all these things. Like, I have zero zero intention or desire to be the guy that does everything and makes every decision, and not to have a board of elders, governance, that at the end of the day, they are helping to shepherd the body, make decisions on behalf of the body and on behalf of Andrew, to help Andrew too. But there's a beautifulness in that culture where you get to lean into eldership and governance in a way, and leaning into that, knowing that you don't have to be the guy that does everything.
And you have a culture where you're co-creating things, and then you get to co-celebrate when they go well, and you get to co-mourn when they don't go well, and you get to share the load, and you get to workshop ideas together. And you, like, healthy leaders are able to seek out dissenting opinions and ideas without being offended. And in a healthy culture, the staff knows that they can raise an objection without fear of repercussion. And when I stepped into my role, I looked at our little staff, who are so amazing. They carry so much. I pinch myself because of like how wonderful like the people that God brought into our team are. But I said to them, hey, I'm one guy in this team, which means I'm going to have 15 to 20% of the good ideas, and the rest of them are in you. And so like in our staff meetings, I need to hear it all. Like we even workshop messages together sometimes. And those are the ones that are really, really fun. Or if I have to make a big announcement that affects like the whole church, I'll bring it to my staff, I'll bring it to my elders, and I'll say to them, what would you have me add to this so that you feel you have a voice at the table? When I'm sharing this in front of the church, what would you have me add to this so that your voice is heard too? Because we're going to be doing this together. It's going to be hard, and I want you to know that like your opinion in this mattered, and you have buy-in for when it gets difficult.
I love what you said about, like, you've said it a couple times now, but like co this and co that, like I think that's so important and can't be understated, is that a bit like you were talking about, Andrew, like there is certain people in certain situations that just have that thirst for the authority, being the one, being the guy, which feels really good when it's going well, right? And then when it's not going so well, it's the worst. And we weren't designed to live like that. We were designed to live in community, and especially worship teams. You know, I talk to so many worship leaders who are just, I mean, probably the better word is not burnout. The better word is exhausted, like you said. But they're just exhausted. They're leading every day, and they have a tiny team, and it's just like it all falls on them. And my message to all of them is like, you have to deepen your bench. Like you have to grow your bench. Add some more chairs at the end. Like you've got to grow. You've got to figure out a way to grow your bench. And I had a real wake up call with this. I remember I was leading. I was playing keys for an outside event here in Fort Worth with a couple churches, and it was this big thing. And there was a worship leader who I'd never met, and she was leading with the leader, and I was playing keys, and we were just sitting chatting because we were at sound check early, just hanging out. She's a worship leader at her church. I'm a worship leader here. And I was like, oh, did you lead this morning? Because it was a Sunday afternoon. And she's like, oh, no, I knew I was doing this. So like I scheduled myself off. She's like, what about you? And I was like, yeah, like every Sunday, every single Sunday. This was in 2020. And I was like, yeah, every single Sunday I lead. And she was just like, oh. It's like she knew. She's like, oh, that must be exhausting. And at the time, like, and this may have been early 20s, I don't know what time this was, but pretty much every Sunday I was on the stage. And it wasn't because I wanted to be, but it was because I didn't really have another choice. We had not deepened our bench yet. And sometimes that takes time. But if you're like on stage or even preaching every single Sunday, just one Sunday off every month or two is like heaven. Like if you can make yourself do it, you know, stay home from church, watch on live stream, get your feet up. It's healthy. But like that was a wake up call for me. I was like, oh wait, is this not normal? I kind of thought everybody did this. Like, cause all the other people I knew did this, but now I'm meeting this person who's walking in a much healthier way. And I realize, oh, I've put too much on me. And there was a little bit of that, like, I don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
It's almost like my cross to bear.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I'm up on stage
And it
every
becomes
Sunday.
a badge of honor. I preach every week, and I do all of this.
Yes. And I'm responsible, for the good, and
Yes.
also like, oh, I'm exhausted, but it's for this. Like, there's a whole complex tied up in it where it becomes my life because it's required of me, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
There's a healthier way to do it. There's a better way to do it that doesn't require me every Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so good. Yeah, one thing we've done with our team here is we did this, I think, a couple years back. We added as like an option where we have our staff can take what's called Sabbath Sundays. Mm-hmm. It's not vacation, it's not PT, it's not sick days. It's another category. And the whole concept around it was really about this thing of rest. Mm-hmm. It was about, hey, take a Sabbath Sunday and actually don't come to church.
What?
I know it sounds a little bit crazy maybe, but like actually rest. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you can't rest, by the way, and be at church. So let's not start down that road. But really it's the fact that for leaders, there is a reality, whether it is spoken or unspoken, that when you show up to church, it doesn't matter if you're preaching, you're leading because you're there.
Yeah.
There's an element of this within the staff and within leadership teams, and maybe it goes unsaid where you just kind of show up. But the reality is, if I show up on a Sunday, somebody is going to come up to me and talk to me about something, or I'm going to be Pastor Andrew, regardless of if I'm preaching or when I'm not preaching.
Yeah.
And so with that just comes this element of Sabbath and rest, and so we've made it a whole category. Like, we have our staff team can request,
I love it.
They can have Sabbath Sunday, and and just that prioritization of rest. And for our team, it's actually helpful that they're able to just have some Sundays where they're just with their family for a little bit, and they're able to really get out of that for a week.
Yeah, I love that idea. We need to implement.
Well, I might be stealing some of your ideas. So,
to Justin's point, I love a Sunday off, and you can go to church and rest, but like having a geographic change is such a good pattern disrupt. Because we can't help the fact that we have a body, soul, spirit, and if our body's in a place, then it affects our soul and spirit. Just can't escape it.
Yeah.
It's so good to have those. Like I said, something that disrupts your pattern and gets you back into a place of just appreciating what you have, and the thirst for power is, it's a tricky and sneaky one. It flares up in ways that aren't so like upfront and maniacal. Yeah. It flares up in ways like where you can't take a Sunday off because because the church's health depends on you, or you can't take a Sunday off because you'd lose control of what's happening, and God forbid someone give a message that's way better than the last 10 you gave.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's even Jesus didn't make a name for himself. Mm-hmm. He was given one. Like in that Philippians 2 passage, have this attitude or this mind about you that was in Christ, who being in very nature God did not consider equality with God a thing to be used
to be grasped,
or a thing to be used to his own advantage or for his own benefit. But instead he emptied himself. He got low. He took the lowest way by considering everyone else as more important than himself, and he was given the highest name. Right. He took the lowest way and got the highest name, but it was given to him. Even he didn't make a name for himself, like we're told to do. So often.
I just think that that's so good, and just even thinking about that whole control thing. And I would say business leaders, CEOs, pastors, ministry leaders, giving up control is good. Like, I just think it needs to be said, because I think one of the hardest things to do in any position sometimes, and this could even just be you're running your own business, and you just allowing somebody else to make some decisions and to actually be able to assume some of that weight of authority and power and some of the responsibility is so healthy and is so needed. And so I think sometimes it's that grasp we don't want to let go. Like, I want to make every decision. And then when there's a wrong decision made that we wouldn't have made that someone else makes, we grasp the power back. I'm going to make all the decisions again. No, let's maybe just do that a little bit differently next time. But I still trust you to make the decision. I think that's healthy leadership. I think that's good leadership.
Yeah.
And I think we need to relinquish this whole aspect of control, almost like this thing of like, I'm not needed anymore if I don't have control.
Yeah.
Like almost like my job depends on having control.
Yeah.
And I just think that mindset just will really get you in a lot of trouble and will lead to burnout in some significant ways. So
Yeah.
it's good.
Did you want to say something else? Go ahead.
It feels like we're summing things up here at the end, and I would be remiss to not just say that I feel like loving loving the one person in front of you is more important than the entire, sermon that you wrote for that Sunday. A few weeks ago, a young lady came up to me who I've known for several years. She'd gone through something incredibly traumatic and was spiraling out in her mind. And it was right after service. I had to get my kids home. I had things I knew that I needed to get to. I just hugged her. And I held on because I knew on the inside she was breaking. And if I held on long enough, then she would begin to weep. And sure enough, it was like 2 minutes in, she fell apart in my arms. And I'm hugging her for a very long time, which can be really awkward for some pastors, not for me. But anyway, I'm hugging her in front of, and there's people milling about. There's a ministry team going on. And I notice that there's an older guy sitting on the front row watching. The entire time he's just watching, and I have no idea what he's thinking. But I'm hugging this young woman, and I led her through a meditation to find where Jesus is, to find what Jesus is saying about her. And she, the trauma that was at like 100% in her soul, maybe it dipped down to 85% or 80%, but she could grasp a little bit of hope. She could grasp a little bit of identity in that moment. But I'm 10 minutes in, hugging, ministering to, praying with, encouraging, handing her Kleenexes. And when we say our goodbyes, this older gentleman in the church came up to me and he said, I've never seen a pastor do that. It's always like hug for a second, pray, and on with the next one. And he's brought it up to me several times. He grew up in the church. He's an older gentleman. I think that it's really, really needed. And I know that story makes me sound cool. That's not the point of it. But I just think that if we can take the time to just deeply love the one person who's in front of us instead of thinking about what's next in the ministry order or the agenda, then it will absolutely revolutionize the church and we will be known for our love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Just being willing to sit with people and be with people. Pastors need to be with the people. I really, I love our church culture. We'll end church. And by the way, our church services are not short. Our church services are 2 hours, 2:15, sometimes longer. And yet
36 hours.
We'll be 15 minutes, 20 minutes services ended. And there's 75 people still in the room. And they're congregating and they're talking and there's life happening.
Yeah.
Family is happening. And I just think that that's so critical for just all of us, just to get away from, just running and being willing to actually just be with people. Mm-hmm. Be with your people. If you're a shepherd, shepherds don't just get on a platform and then they're never with the sheep. I heard somebody say one time that shepherds should smell like sheep. And I love that because I think that there's a reality of if you're not in there with your people, the people in your flock, and you're not able to really spend time there because things have gotten a little bit too where, you've been walled off so much from that, maybe that there just hasn't been a path to that. I would say find a path be in and among the